What's up guys, and welcome to another Sm.I.E video. Now, a little while back I did a video on how to get a job in the ICT industry, where I gave some pointers on the best direction to take in order to generate maximum interest in you as a potential hire in the industry today, and that was around certifications. Today, I want to develop on that a little bit more and see if I can provide a little more context as well as a little bit of caution. So, if you're ready, let's go. So, in my last video, I told you that the best way to get noticed in your job search within the ICT space today is to pursue certifications. This still remains very true and is probably going to remain true for a while. But why? Now, there are a number of reasons for this, but two of the main reasons are that one, certs are beneficial for companies for things like vendor kickbacks. So when you talk about things like discounts, and the discount level may be higher or lower depending on the more or less certified that the partner is. Then there is stuff like free training, free test equipment, and stuff like that, right? And two, which is pretty important, certs actually allow a company to pinpoint a potential hire within the specific with the specific requisite skill set that they're in search of. Now, these two reasons are two big reasons why certifications are important today, and in many cases they may even value more than your degree. Not so long ago, maybe 50 or 60 years ago, skilled labor jobs were still basically controlled by two areas: apprenticeship and higher education. Apprentice to a master at his craft and develop your skill, and you'd pretty much be set by association. And on the flip side, come out of college or university with your degree and you'd be sought after as one who had higher education. Now, the underlying other side to both of those things at the time was that technology was not so advanced back then, or at that time. It definitely wasn't as advanced as it is now, and it definitely was not advancing at the pace that it does now. Back then you had fewer vendors in the ICT space, and those vendors tended to have very specific focuses. So you had your switching and routing guys, you had your PBX guys, you had your server guys, etc. And they each focused on their individual areas. Back then, to build a complete solution for any customer, you often had to mix and match products from the different vendors. And this was so much more of a closed kind of ecosystem. Companies would send their staff off to expensive trainings and seminars just so that they could build the necessary skill set. And these trainings and seminars would be closed and inaccessible to the general public, and even other companies if they weren't in partnership with or invited by these vendors that were putting on these trainings and seminars. And because there were so few companies that were engaging in the services centered around these technologies, then the major players could control the market at that time. So, understandably, it was perfectly acceptable at the time to allow for the time it would take for an apprentice or a college or university graduate to get up to speed on the job. So then, your degree was more valuable. Now, on the other hand, this isn't so much the case anymore. Multiple vendors, multiple companies offering different services, whether professional or managed services, and these trainings and seminars are not as closed loop as they once were. Now there's a lot more access to this kind of stuff. Very importantly too, vendors are now branching out to build more end-to-end solutions, bringing with that next-gen state-of-the-art features that are oftentimes proprietary in many cases to their portfolio. You have the switching and routing guys now making PBXs and servers and firewalls, and the server guys now doing switching and routing and PBXs, and you have the PBX guys now doing servers and switching and routing, and everybody's now trying to get in on the other areas of the market. But while the underlying concepts and behind the technology is fundamentally the same, the new developments kind of create a lot of niches and proprietary space for these vendors. And customers are buying into this technology on a large scale as societal and environmental and economical and financial factors serve as a major driving force in the need for change. This is where certifications now become more valuable and your degree does not. Train and certify yourself in any one of these verticals that exist today within the ICT space, and you increase the level of your marketability several fold. But, and this is the big but, this is where I caution you not to go chasing certs just for the sake of having certs or because you think it's the next big thing. As valuable as your certs are, even more valuable is the ability to actually do the job. I remember I worked with somebody once that did their CCNA routing and switching certification twice. As in, they did it, they passed, and then however many years later, they did the recertification and they recertified. But that person did not know the difference between a public IP and a private IP. I kid you not. When pursuing any certification course, the aim should really be to understand, manipulate, and manage the technology within whichever course it is that you're actually pursuing, not just to pass a certification exam and get a cert. First of all, the knowledge doesn't stay with you if you're not using it. Now, there are fundamental concepts that one should have in the IT space, I think, that can branch off into any specialized area. Like, for example, switching and routing. Now, that can branch off into a lot of things. You can branch off into collaboration from that. You can branch off into security. You can branch off into development. You can branch off into cloud, data center. So many things that you can branch off into after you now have that fundamental understanding of how networks work, how communication passes along networks, and so on. But once you have the foundational concepts down, then pick a path that suits you, something that interests you, and then go along and develop yourself along that path. If you like security, then go down the security path and level up as you go along. But it's not going to make much sense doing all three, for example, unless you're actually working in an area where all three of these technologies intersect or interconnect, or except in cases where you absolutely have to, as is the case for many areas like the Caribbean, where you have to learn multiple technologies as a consequence of limited resources. Don't be that guy or girl that has a million certs behind your name, but when you're asked to demonstrate your skill, you're unable to do that. It's definitely not a good look on you, and it can turn into a bad situation. Also, technology is changing. It changes every day, every minute. There's always something new. So it's really difficult to keep up in this field. Try not to create that obligation to maintain all of these certs, because that's a lot of undue pressure. As I mentioned, the important thing really is that you know how to actually do the work. And that's it. Long-winded, I know, but hopefully informative. I did a piece on this before and I felt that it wasn't as complete as I would want it to be, so I had to add this additional piece on this topic. If you guys enjoyed this video today, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up and drop me a line in the comments and let me know what you think. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the content that we post. That's it for me today. I hope you guys had a good time with the video, and I will catch you guys on the next one.